Hello again. This is Tom Hanneman here. This is another video in a series of videos that I put together, which discusses the process of transforming a person's resume from what it was until to what it needed to be. So there's a number of these videos covering people at various levels in different industries, different job types and so forth. And hopefully it gives you an idea of the kinds of things that people often do and which need to be addressed, and why they were not getting interviews for the sorts of roles that they wanted. So let me just share my screen and show you this one, which is Jennifer Ward. And Jennifer is a senior manager in the financial services sector, and she was looking to expand her board portfolio. So, and at the same time, she was also looking for any additional senior management, senior executive roles. So we really needed to create a resume that was suitable with some modification for both types of roles. Now, at the beginning of her resume, Jennifer included her address. I strongly recommend that you do not include your physical address for privacy reasons, and also because it's not necessary. You don't need to. So the privacy issue is an important one, because you don't actually know who's going to read your resume, whose eyes will be cast over your resume and what they potentially might do with your resume. So please don't provide your address unless you are specifically asked to do so, unless there's a very good reason to do so. Okay, moving on, the skills, experience, and personal attributes section. It's very broad, it's generic, it's very dense, and it's not really connected with a lot of the attributes and expertise that organizations that she wants to join are necessarily interested in. So we needed to target that. Her qualifications, given her seniority, and I've mentioned this elsewhere in other videos, if you are reasonably senior, you've got significant or extensive experience, your qualifications should probably be towards the end of your resume, because they are not a key selling point. However, the caveat on that is, if you are pitching for a role where they have specified we need someone with a PhD in organic chemistry, then you would put PhD organic chemistry, the name of the university, and when you completed that qualification at the early part of the document, probably directly underneath your name, so that people know they're reading a resume of someone who has the qualification that is essential in the job. But in most cases, that's not necessary. Now, the other thing she's done is she's talked about her community involvement at the beginning of her resume on page 1. Probably leave that towards the end of the document, because it's much less important than her achievements and the impact that she's had. Now, she talks about her board experience under a heading called Other Activities. Now, that's really a bit of a throwaway. She has made valuable contributions to the boards of various substantial organisations, but if you put something under Other Activities, it could give the impression that it has less importance or less significance than it really does. So I think that that needs to be elevated, and we need a different heading for that. so that it stands out a bit more. And when she talks about her achievements, they're not expressed in a clear and direct way to communicate the significance and impact of what she's done. It needs to be more succinct, and it's difficult to penetrate the material and the information. So, and the other thing, and I've mentioned this in other parts, is that she has said that referees will be available on request. No need to do that. Everyone who applies for any job will eventually need to provide referees. So it's a given. Some people want to include their referees in their resume. Now, that's no problem with doing that, provided that you brief your referees well before they're likely to be contacted, so that they understand the role that you're interested in, the type of organization that you want to work in, and what specific criteria or attributes they want candidates to meet, so that they've got an understanding, and also give them the name of the person who's likely to be contacting them, so that when they get a phone call and a person leaves a message, then if they get a phone call from Fred Smith and they don't know who Fred Smith is, because Fred might not say that they are from Heidrick and Struggles or Spencer Stewart or the firm that they're representing, it's going to make it easier if you let them know that it will be Fred Smith who will be calling them. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is have a look at what we did to transform Jennifer's resume into something that ended up helping her secure the kinds of opportunities that she was interested in. So here's a quick look at Jennifer's new resume. Now you'll see first up that the format, the layout is much nicer to look at. It's more visually appealing and more attractive, more distinctive, and more accessible to the reader. Now, some people have said to me, oh, the layout stuff's not all that important, why do I need to dress it up? Now, you do, because if those sorts of things and visual appeal weren't important, then organizations wouldn't spend hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on getting the look and feel of their stationery, their livery, their logos, and other aspects of their branding just right. It is important, and we've selected a design here that's easily accessible and easily editable for the client, and gives a much more professional impression on the reader. Now, the other thing that you'll notice when looking at the first part of resume is that it gives a succinct and clear overview of the kinds of roles that she's interested in, and the organizations that she wants to approach. She says chief executive, I'm also a board chair, committee member, and then gives a very brief synopsis of her background and her key areas of expertise, which are aligned with the expertise the organizations that she's interested in are looking for. And we know this because we did a bit of homework and research and worked out what the sorts of organizations that she wants to work in or become a board member of. are interested in and what they find to be valuable and important. Now, she's also included now a section called Selected Career Highlights, which identifies those things that are pivotal to the requirements of the sorts of roles. And so she's connected what she's done as a change management champion, as a performance improvement expert, and as an executive leader upfront. And they can see that on the first page. Now, with her experience, her board experience now is much more prominent in the document. So we haven't sort of hidden it under other activities. We've made it a prominent component of her resume because she's interested in board opportunities. And her contributions to the different boards that she's worked on are pretty clear. Secured government and organisations' acceptance of a review, transitioned the organisation, introduced more inclusive and modern operating processes, etc., strengthened engagement, drove the change agenda, transformed the culture, introduced more inclusive processes, realigned the role of the board. All of those things that she's done are now really abundantly clear and ensures that the organisations that she's pitching to will understand the value of her contributions and the impact of what she's done, not just her experience. It's not enough to say you're a member of the Investment Advisory Committee, not enough to say that you are chair of deputy chair or member of the audit committee and so forth. You've got to talk about what you have done, what you've achieved, what you contributed to the organisation as a board member. And a lot of people who are applying for board positions don't do this in their resume. They assume that talking about their experience is enough. However, what that does is fails to differentiate them from other people who could be interested in pitching for exactly the same role. So that's why that's important. So when we look at her experience in senior executive roles, it's clear as to what she's done, elevated the position of the region, increased employee engagement. We also talk about how she did what she did, reduced lost time, through cultural change. Previous role, she talks about what her mandate was and what she achieved, and so on and so forth. So her achievements indicate the significant impact she's had, and where necessary, the strategies or approaches that she's adopted, and they certainly demonstrate the value that she added and the benefits to the organisations in which she has worked. And you'll see that her qualifications are now towards the end of her resume. And whilst some people will say, why not put your qualifications towards the beginning? It really depends on what the organisation is looking for. For example, if they are looking for someone who has done, an MBA or an executive MBA from a prominent Australian business school, then you might well include it, and you might possibly, where you include it might be in the very front end of your resume underneath your heading. Right? So if you include it here, then that could be valuable if the organisation believes that that is an important criterion. Okay, so as a result of the transformation of Jennifer's resume, she was able to expand her board portfolio quite significantly. And she also secured interviews for a number of senior executive roles in the financial services sector. And in fact, she ended up becoming chief executive of what you might call a boutique enterprise in that sector. And so she certainly gained a lot of benefits from the transformation work that we did. And I do want to mention to you that the work that I do with my clients is very collaborative. There's lots of toing and froing, and we go through several iterations of the resume before we finalize it to make sure that it is 100% reflection of the value that they can add, the difference they've made, and their unique value proposition. So again, thank you very much for watching and listening. And of course, if you find the material here useful and valuable, there's a good chance that other people might also. And if that's the case, feel free to send the link to this video to them so that they might also gain some benefits and get some value. So until next time, there'll be 3 or 4 more videos on different types of people. Take care, be well, be safe, and enjoy. Cheers.